Let's quickly go and check whether we have configured the sequential file stages properly. Let's quickly check data for all of these stages so that we can be sure, because we have designed a big job. And now if this job fails at any point, this will take some debugging, right? So this seems to be configured properly. Let's go check the other link as well. Okay, okay. And then we have to check the department link as well. And then we just run the job. If there's any issue, we can debug that issue. But this seems to be fine as well. Let's check the reference link. Okay, okay. Let's wait for the data to come up. This seems to be okay as well. Okay, so let's now simply go and try to compile this job straight away. So if there are any syntax errors, we'll know. Before that, we need to save the job. So this is a DS project save. Now let's see what will be the compilation results. So in the beginning, if you're not too sure, you can just keep on developing parts of the job and keep on running them using the peak stage as I've used in several video tutorials. So instead of connecting it to a proper output stage, you can just connect it to a peak stage and run parts of the jobs to see that till that part it is working properly. And then there are various other ways to debug the job as well. So it's a good practice to develop a part of the job, check it, and then continue with the other part of the job if it is too complicated. Another good way of developing this job would be to split it into multiple jobs instead of doing all the logic in one single job. Split it into extract, transform, load jobs. That would also be a good way of doing it. So let's run the job. All these parameters value, it is asking us to confirm. So let's just say okay to all these values and run this job. Okay. Okay, so the job has failed. Now let's go to view, and there must be some property which we are missing. Let's check the job log. Okay, so it says basically that it could not generate the employee ID column because this name already exists in the input data set. Let's just remove this job log window. View job log. Now this has happened because the runtime column propagation might be enabled at a lot of places and we do not want that. So let's first go to the change capture stage, go to the input links, right? And try to check the values over there to the columns. Okay, let's go to the output link to the columns. Okay. And let's just take this away. We do not want any runtime column propagation. Because by enabling runtime column propagation, what happens is that any columns which we have dropped in a job code get propagated to the output. Again, runtime column propagation. We do not want this to happen. Okay, let's go back to the update to the transformer. and remove any runtime column propagation from there as well. So go to the outputs. Let's remove this runtime column propagation. Okay. Okay. Let's compile this job. Say yes. Well, these small things will be missing here and there. And looking at the job log messages, you should be able to identify what is causing the job failure and fix those issues. So let's try to run this again and let's hope this time it will run. Let's see. Okay, so there's an error again. Let's look at the error. Let's go to the job log. And there are many warnings which can be ignored. We just need to worry about the fatal messages here. Field with this name already exists in the input dataset. So it's the same kind of error that we've got. Let's check again whether we have propagated that column by mistake or what. Transformer stage. Let's go to the outputs tab. So you can see the name here, the link out update. We removed the runtime column propagation from here, but we did not remove the runtime column propagation from the insert link, which is the link through which we are trying to create the surrogate key. Let's say okay. Let's go and compile this job. Let's run this job again. So now I have run the job again, correcting the runtime column propagation. So I've removed the runtime column propagation from all the stages and I've run the job again. And we can see that the row count now here for the updated records is 4 rows and for the inserted records it is 6 rows. So we can just see here that this is 6 rows. 6 rows are flowing for the insert link. So that means there are 4 records for which some of the attribute values were updated, though the same employee number records already existed. And then there are 6 records going here. That means for the 4 updated records, 4 new records will be inserted. And there are 2 records which are altogether new. So let's look at the data one by one for the updated records. So let's just view the data for the updated record. And with the update record, the main thing that we want to observe is that the end date, all these updated records should now be end dated. So all those records will be end dated because corresponding new records for the same employee numbers will be inserted into the table with new start dates and end date as maximum date, right? And those will be the current records. So here we can see that we have the employee ID and the end date, and all of these have been end dated as 3rd June 2016, or the date on which the job was run, or the transaction date. So the end date is no longer 31/12/999. They have been end dated. That says that these are now all previous records. Now if we look at the insert data set, let's see what we see, what we are able to see here. Now here we'll have new records. All of them should be having the end date as 31/12/9999 or the maximum end date. Let's look at the data here. And they'll have new surrogate key ID values generated because these will be new records that will be inserted into the dimension table. So they need to have new distinct value of the ID columns. So these are the employee numbers. We can see there are new employee ID values that have been generated. And okay, we need to look at the start date. The start date for all of them is the 3rd of June, which was the end date for the updated records, and the end date is the maximum end date. That means that says that these are active records. So this is how we can identify that these are active records, by looking at the start date and the end date. So this is how you can implement a SCD2 or a slowly changing dimension 2 using all these stages. So this is how your job will look. Again, as I've said earlier, a better way to do this would also be to split this job into multiple jobs, create an extract, transform, load job instead of one big job, so you can have your extraction done till here. Then you can have your lookups done in the transformation job and the change data capture done, and then you can just create these data sets for updating your dimension table. And also, one more best practice to remember, that it is always advised to create separate data sets for updating and inserting the records, so you can create them that way. Another thing, because the job failed a lot of times today when we try to run it, the thing to remember is that disable runtime column propagation when you do not need it. So keep in mind that you need to disable runtime column propagation, keep your partitioning rights for any join stages or your key based operations. Your partitioning should be set as hash partitioning and your input data sets should be sorted. So basically, keeping all these things in mind, you can implement any kind of logic by using a combination of stages from data stage and a transformer. That is a pretty powerful stage. So a lot of logic can be implemented within the transformer itself. So this was an implementation of a project requirement. In real life, you'll have similar project requirements to implement, and you can use a combination of stages to implement your requirements. Again, keep it modular, split your jobs and combine them using a job sequencer if needed. So that will make your job easier. If there's any failure, even till a point, then the job can be started from the point of failure instead of trying to do the reprocessing from the start every time. So keeping all these in mind, I'm sure that you'll be able to design good jobs using DataStage. This is the end of this project requirement sessions. Thank you for watching.